So now let's look at a 3D Maya fluid and see if we can make it somewhat behave like water. Go to the FX shelf, make a 3D container. By default it's sitting at the origin. I want to push it up so it is above ground. There we go. So there's my emitter, there's my fluid container. You can see by the grid how big the voxels actually are. And the voxels are of course not just on the flat plane, but they are little cubes all the way over here. Let's see what happens if we just play this. We get a bit of smoke which goes up. Water tends to not go up, so first action will be to reverse gravity. There we go. Let's see, now it goes down. And it goes through everything. That makes total sense because it doesn't know about these things yet. I have to select the fluid container and the two objects and say, please collide with them. This thingy up here. It does collide, but it's really hard to see what it's doing because we're looking at a cloud. We might not want to look at a cloud, we want to look more at a surface. Well, we're in luck because if you go to the fluid container, we can say under surface, render as a surface. There we go. Now it looks sort of like a surface, but it doesn't quite do what we want. For one, the resolution of this simulation doesn't seem quite high enough to collide properly with these objects. So let me increase the resolution, and by increasing the base resolution, you see you get smaller voxels. So that would already give me a more interesting result. It is not quite right yet. It's also no longer playing back in real time because it started to get complicated. One of the things that's wrong is that it's still behaving as a gas, not as a liquid. We can, however, tell it to enable liquid simulation. Let's see if that gets any better. There we go, it already starts looking way more like liquid. And we can, of course, fine-tune this, play with it. We can, for instance, turn on some viscosity. That's in dynamic simulation, which will make it even more fluid-like. And there are all kinds of settings in the liquid simulation. You can get some from some of the presets that are available in Maya Fluids. One thing that's also not quite right is that we have all this space up here, all this fluid container that we're not using. We're only using a little bit. It would be nice if the fluid container had the same size as the simulation. To make the fluid container have the same size as simulation, we can auto resize, which means that it will only simulate the part where there's actually some density. But oh, there's one downside to it, as you might see. It falls through the floor now because there's no longer a bottom on the container. We happen to be in luck that there is actually a floor in the scene, and if I make that a collider as well, it won't fall through the floor anymore. Let's look at that a bit more up close. No, more up close. There we go. The resolution still doesn't look quite high enough, but now that the container is automatically resizing, I can increase the base resolution. I can also start with a way smaller initial box and then set the base resolution to like 5, which is still higher than I had when it was big and at 24. So now it does a more detailed simulation and starts somewhat looking like a fluid. These are the very basics of Maya Fluid. of Maya fluids and how to make them behave somewhat like water. How to render this will be discussed in a different video.